Hi, it's Kristen Cooper, your home loan gal. So excited to jump on here today to show you how many people, even first-time home buyers, are building massive wealth through home ownership. There's been a lot of changes this year that have been really great for people that are looking to build their real estate portfolio, and we're going to be talking about that today. So we're going to talk through a couple different programs and a high overview, but please reach out. I'd love to go over your specific options and go over how you can invest into the real estate market and get a great return today. So what we're looking at here is a couple different programs. FHA, which is a government insured loan, came out with being able to use an FHA loan to where you could purchase a single family residence, which means it's just one home, but now has an ADU on it. So an ADU is an additional dwelling unit. So what that means is you have your main home, but it also has an additional dwelling unit that can be occupied. Usually it's like a 1 or a 2 bedroom smaller home that's on the property as well. What changed with FHA is that they now allow you to use rental income to qualify on that ADU. So what that means is it used to be that you had this additional dwelling unit and you knew that you can rent it out for $1,500, $1,800 a month, let's say, but you wouldn't be able to use that income to help you qualify for the mortgage. So it made it a little bit more challenging for you, especially somebody that's a first-time home buyer, to be able to purchase this property, to be able to get rental income because maybe you couldn't afford the higher payment. Now FHA says, no, we're going to go ahead and we're going to recognize and let you use that rental income to help you be able to afford this home so that you can rent it out, get that rental income to help you create massive wealth. Big change. So what does that look like? Now, the numbers that I'm using is just for example, purposes. So make sure to reach out to me. Your numbers might be slightly different based on your qualifying rates, all that kind of stuff. But to give you the perspective of why this is such a huge advantage in today's marketplace, we're going to be illustrating a couple examples. So the first, what you're looking at here, FHA purchase, let's say it's $600,000. Again, this is a FHA single family residence with that ADU on the property. Well, what's great about this is you purchase this home with minimal down, 3.5% down of the purchase price. 3.5% of the purchase price is the down payment. And then your payment, which includes estimated property taxes and insurance, which is required when you have a mortgage. So you have your 30-year, let's say, mortgage payment, meaning you make that payment for 30 years, it pays off your loan. But then you also are responsible for property tax and insurances, which I have estimated and included in this total payment, since we're going to be looking at affordability and cash flow and all that. So your estimated payment based on, let's just say, a 7.125 rate, of course, depending on where rates are at that time, can change. Then you can see that on here, a couple things that you have to consider. Now, if you're a first-time home buyer, again, call me. I want to go over additional information with you specifically about tax benefits and paying down your principal and what we call net payment versus rent, which is really important to understand. But for purposes today, we're going to go ahead and just say, okay, you're purchasing this home, single family residence. Yeah, your payment's $5,000, but here's what I want you to look at. If your payment is $5,000 and you have this ADU that you can rent out for $1,500 or $2,000 and you apply that, well, that means that your mortgage is maybe, $3,000 to $3,500. So I have clients come to me and say, hey, Kristen, we're wanting to purchase a home. Our budget's $3,500. Well, this is a great opportunity for you because if you're able to find a home in this price point at $600,000 that has that additional dwelling unit, you're able to afford the $3,500 as long as you rent it out for the additional $15,000. Together, that makes up the mortgage payment. Now, what makes this so powerful is that now you have that rental income, and it takes it a step further. What you need to know if you don't already have rental incomes is the way that rental income is calculated is on your tax return, which is your Schedule E. You have your income that you receive from the property, but then you also get to deduct expenses before you actually claim that as income. So you actually get more income at the end of the day because you have so many write-offs that you don't have to pay taxes on. So there's even a step further around it about massive wealth accumulation that we can go through. But for simplistic purposes today, we're just going to use payment for payment. Now, what's also really important to understand is this property, if you're purchasing at a higher price point, now it has this ADU, now it has rental income. When you go to sell this property, you're going to be able to use that as a marketing strategy that you say, hey, already income producing, going to help you be able to afford the mortgage. Or it may be for, somebody that's looking to have an ADU for their family, but it has the perspective of being able to have additional cash flow. We're looking at really important things to consider is, rent versus owning. Again, happy to go over that information, but obviously rent, you have no return. And when you own, you're getting a return because not only are you paying down your principal with part of your monthly payment, which is now what I call your forced savings, meaning it's now your money. So you pay down your loan balance. The difference between what you owe and your value is now your equity. So that's actually your savings, your money versus rent. There's no return. And then beyond that, you have appreciation, which is how much your home value goes up each year. And that is now your equity, again, your savings in the home, which is how you create massive net worth and wealth. So what I like to illustrate on here is if you continue to rent, obviously there's no net worth, right? You're not going to gain anything from that. But if you were to purchase, now look at this, just in 10 years, this is assuming just a standard 5% home appreciation, which is really conservative. Over 10 years, how much wealth you would have created in this home based on that 5% appreciation, how much you pay down your loan balance. This doesn't even take into account, obviously, your rental income and all of that you have going on. But why this is massive is now that you can afford to go to the higher price point, you're having somebody else help you afford the mortgage. You're building massive net worth. This is huge. So what would you do in 10 years with 380,000? This is how people are starting to be strategic with the way that they start with their retirement planning and building out their investments. Now, a couple other programs too that you want to look at and consider when we get on our mortgage consultation, and this is what we do. We look at all options for you and figure out what's going to be best for you and your family. What other options we can look at is FHA also allows what's called a 2 to 4 unit purchase. And so we can look at that option where you could purchase even more units. So maybe you have, instead of a single family residence with that ADU, maybe you have a property that is 2 or 4 units, so a duplex or maybe a 4-unit property. And we can look at that strategically as well to see what you qualify for. All the way up to a 4% unit only requires 3.5%. So pretty massive. Now, can you use rental income on this? Yes. There is a sustainability test that we have to do on it, but really great option. And as you can see here, if you're able to find a home at 700,000, sure, your payment goes up to 5778. But let's say it's a 3-unit, and let's say those other 2 units you're going to rent out for 3,000. Well, your payment's now under $1,500 each, so that's 3,000. Now your payment's $2,800 a month. Massive, massive opportunity. We also have a new program coming out, depending on when you're watching this in November, for a conventional loan, allowing as low as 5%. Now, it used to require a lot more down when you got into the 2 and the 4-unit properties with conventional. What's really great about the conventional option is there is no sustainability test. So that means that whatever rents you use completely, you just automatically get to use that to offset the mortgage payment. And what's really great about it is if you have really great credit score going conventional, it's a little bit less, cost usually. And we do a side-by-side comparisons and just let you know the different options. Conventional financing isn't as strict with property standards too. So it does allow more properties that may need a little bit more TLC, whereas FHA may require a little bit more non-TLC properties, which kind of limits how much options you have. So conventional, again, you can see your payment depending on, where your credit score is and all that. And then again, you get to use the rental income to offset the payment. So this is, some people call it house hacking. I call it real estate building and net worth building. And as you can see here, massive, massive opportunity. So what's great is this could be for you as a first-time home buyer. This is what I have kids that are, in college right now. And this is what I think that you should start out with. You should look into options to where, yeah, sure, it's not just your property. So maybe you're a little more like, I need to be separate. So maybe just a single family residence with an ADU that's, a little bit separate might be more of your thing, but you could still get rental income to help you qualify. Maybe you have family members where it's like, hey, you and your sibling or, you and your friend want to purchase. Maybe, you purchase together and you buy a 4-unit property. Each of you can live in one of the units and then rent the other ones. So it's a little bit less risk. So there's a lot of opportunities that we can look at. But the important thing to look at here is this is how you create massive net worth, even if you're a first-time home buyer. And even if you're not a first-time home buyer, you can look at this option if you're going to live in one of the units. So it's really, really important to understand that you need to work with somebody that understands all the different mortgage options that you have, understands what your ultimate goal is, but also providing options that you may not even considered that can help create massive wealth for you and your family. So please reach out today. I would love to go over different options and strategies for you. You can book an appointment or give me a call at 916-390-4689.